So again, a very, very warm welcome to those who are listening into the session, to the recording, and thank you to those who are joining us in class tonight. I do always appreciate your time. So what we're going to look at tonight is we are going to look at assignment 1. You will recall that we did briefly discuss assignment 1 when we met last week. So we did have a look at assignment 1, and obviously the assignment is coming up in September. So it's the middle of September. The 14th of September is when assignment 1 is due. So we're just going to unpack it in a bit more detail. If there are questions, let me know, and then we can sort of try and figure out this assignment together. So you'll remember last week when we spoke, we had a look at the structure of the assignment. We had a look at the case study, and I did tell you guys to please just go and start researching naked insurance. So that was our case study. Go and start researching it and checking, you know, how you can go about answering the 3 questions from the assignment 1. So we're going to just continue with that tonight. I'm going to run through each question, and then you guys can ask questions at the end of each little section that we've got, and we can try and unpack it in a little bit more detail. So we're looking at assignment 1. Remember, assignment 1 is available in your student material, so you will be able to find it under student materials. The assignment is there for you, and you can start on it. If you haven't started on it, I would suggest you start on it as soon as you can, because it is a long assignment and it is written. It's quite sort of research intense, if I can say that. So if we have to look at the assignment that we've got, assignment 1 on the 14th of September that we would have, it is written in a report structure. So the beginning part of the assignment tells us that you are the consultant. So as you are the strategic consultant for Naked Insurance. So you are the person who they are going to come to for advice, and you need to look at developing a report on these 3 aspects. So you're going to focus on 3 different aspects. That's going to focus on their strategy. You're going to look at their mission and vision statements, and we're going to look at their business inclusivity. Okay, so we're going to look at Naked as a whole, Naked Insurance as a whole, and you are going to write a report that's going to be addressed to the CEO of the organization, in which you are going to make recommendations on their strategies, make recommendations on the mission statements, and make recommendations on how they can share value as well as incorporate business inclusivity within their organization. So students are often concerned with that word report. They often think to themselves, sure, what is this report and how am I going to write a report? Remember, the report is very similar to an essay. So when we speak about an essay and a report, they are very similar. Both of them are professional documents. The only difference is that a report, you might have multiple introductions in the report. So you'll see for each of the questions that we're going to look at, you have an introduction. So we have an introduction to the entire report, and then each little subheading has got its own introduction as well. And then it is concluded as per normal. So don't get a fright when you see the report, okay? So when we write an academic essay, we have taken research and we are writing an essay. When we write a report, often in our report, especially when we are writing it addressed to a CEO or to a group of directors, we are trying to make recommendations and make suggestions. And that is why we are writing it as a report, because it allows us to make these recommendations and suggestions on behalf of the organization. So our report has a specific structure. So the structure of our report is quite specific, but it's not difficult to follow. So let's quickly have a look at the structure of the report that you would have. Okay, so you can see the first thing we're going to look at is the cover page. Okay, so what would you have typically on your cover page? On your cover page, as part of your assignment, you would have your name. Okay, so we'll have name. You would have your student number. You would have something that's along the lines of This is a report directed at the board of directors for naked insurance. So you have what we refer to as a subject line or an intro or a explanation. What is this that we are reading? Okay, so you're going to be explaining what it is. So you've got your cover page. You can put a picture. Maybe you want to put a logo on the cover page. You can make it as professional as you see fit. Remember, you don't get marks for a cover page, so it's not something that's included as a mark. But you do, it does make your document just look professional as well. So first thing that you need is the cover page. Remember, with our cover page, you'll have your name, your student number, the module code that you're doing as well. You will have your OT listed there, so you'll have my name on there, and then you would have a subject line or an explanation. This is a report written by Kim van Rooyen, directed to or addressed to the CEOs of naked insurance. So just a short one-liner explaining what am I going to be finding in this report? What am I going to be looking for in the report? Okay. Then we have an introduction. So this introduction that you can see here that I'm busy circling is the general introduction. So this is the introduction to the entire report that you're going to be looking. So in this introduction, you will have definitions that you would have. You will indicate what are the 3 questions that you're going to be answering. So some of the topics in those 3 questions, you will be giving a broad overview of what you are going to be discussing in your report. So a general introduction that is going to look at the questions that you are going to answer. So you don't have to answer the questions in your report. Your report would read something like, for example, let's think of the first one. We would say, in this report, we are going to be looking at 2 different perspectives. We're going to be looking at outside in and inside out perspective. These mean that, and you can define them quickly. We will also be looking at what it means for an organization to have a good mission statement. This is what that means. The report will also be looking at the concept of shared inclusivity. Shared inclusivity means da 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 da. And then you can have your introduction. So you're just going to give a little tidbit on what is coming in the report. So a little snippet, a short little bit of what you are going to be writing your report on. So an introduction to what are the 3 concepts in each of the questions that you would look for. So you're going to just write a short little brief introduction for each of those 3 concepts. Okay. So for each of them, you will still have another introduction that's on its own, but as the general introduction, the big introduction, the introduction that is going to count 5 marks. So 5 marks for the introduction, 5 marks for the conclusion in your structure, and then the balance of the marks would be over there. Okay. So I think this one is also 30. I made an error there. And then we look at the questions. So in our body of the report, we're going to be answering question 1, question 2, question 3. So question 1, remember that focuses on our perspectives. So we're going to unpack each of them in detail. So question 1, we look at perspectives. Question 2, remember our question 2 focuses on the mission statements. So we have a look at the mission statements and the vision statements for the organization. And then question 3, the final question that you would have here, we focus on the shared value. So we look at shared value and the inclusivity. Okay, so 3 main questions that would then form part of the body. So I often get asked the question, Kim, must I have subtitles? Must I have subtitles for each of the questions? And I always tell the students that it is up to you, but I would encourage you to have those subtitles, if anything, for yourself, so you can go and see that you have answered each section adequately, but it also makes my marking a lot easier as well. So you won't get minus marks if you don't, but it does make it a lot easier for me as the marker to see, okay, here I can clearly see this is question 1 and question 2 and question 3 that you would have. So, just go and have a little subheading for each of the questions that you would have. So whether you call it question 1 or whether you actually call it the perspectives, the mission statement, and the shared value, that's up to you. But if I can just ask that there is a distinction between, where you are writing so that I can see, okay, this is your answer, this is your answer, this is your answer. So 3 main questions that would form of the body of the organization. Once you have completed your 3 questions, you then go and write a final general conclusion. Okay? So a general conclusion, which again will tie up with all 3 of those questions. So you're going to literally take question 1, 2, and 3, pull out the main points from question 1, 2, and 3, and pop them into the conclusion. So take the main points from those questions, the main factors, the main key factors, the summary points from question 1, 2, and 3, and go and write a general conclusion for what you have covered. So again, your conclusion would be like, in conclusion, we can see that even though naked insurance is following an inside-out perspective, we would recommend an outside-in perspective. We have analyzed naked insurance mission statement, and I have found it to be good, but the recommendations would be to change a few of the elements, or to change this element, or to add this into the mission statement. It has also come to the attention that naked insurance has not put enough emphasis on creating an approach that encompasses shared value. So going forward, it is recommended that naked insurance really spend some time creating a new inclusivity and shared value approach. And that then would be your conclusion. So you can see and hear, just as I was speaking, that I have tied up from question 1, question 2, and question 3 into the conclusion. Important to realize that our conclusions are between 250 and 300 words. So that is both the introduction and the conclusion. So 250, 300 for intro, 250, 300 for conclusion. Obviously, guys, it's important to have references. You're going to be doing a lot of research, extra research for this, to define the concepts, to look at where naked is at the moment and how they are, what they are doing. So you need to find all that information. So research and the references are going to be very, very important. This is both in-text referencing as well as that bibliography or the reference list at the end. Okay, and then obviously appendices are optional. Again, there's no marks awarded or allocated for an appendix, but if you're using it to support a fact or some theory that you have used in question 1, 2, or 3, so maybe you've got a chart or a graph or some sort of statistics that you are using in support of a specific question, by all means include the appendix, make reference to it. Like I say, it can be used to support your theory. So then you'll get marks for the theory, but you're not going to get extra marks, or you're not going to get less marks or extra marks for actually having it. So you will know whether you need, if you've indicated in question 1, 2, and 3 that there is certain statistics or that graphs show over the years this is the growth, then put that graph in there, because then that is sort of supporting what you have said in one of the questions or one of the answers there as well. So there is a word limit between the reports. You may go a little bit over that as well. So I know that it's quite a short amount of words. So it's very little words that we have for a lot of information that you need. So if you're finding that you are going over a little bit, please don't panic, okay? That is fine. Like you say, it is quite a lot of information that you want to try and squash into those few words. Remember, the word count doesn't include the references. It doesn't include the table of contents or the reference list at the end. So that's important to realize as well. Okay, so let's just quickly see thumbs up. Are we all on the same page with regards to the structure, with how the report is going to be written? Are there any questions on the actual structure and sort of the admin side of the things before I jump into the questions, question 1 and question 2 and question 3? Thanks, Stephanie, Rachel, and Sitandiwe. Thank you for that. And Tash, thank you guys. So yeah, so it is a little bit different to what you are used to, but you'll see it is the same so when you do business management 3B, it's going to be the same as well. Okay. So let's look at the questions. I know we did speak about them a little bit, and I did give you some page numbers, so I'll just reiterate those page numbers and then just explain it once again in more detail. So question 1 is our first question that you can see here. Question 1 speaks about the two perspectives that we have in business management. So in business management, we have what we refer to as the inside out perspective, and we have the outside in perspective. Okay, so different perspectives that you would have, and your job, your responsibility is to have a look at these perspectives and then decide on which one Naked is doing. So let's cast our eyes back to actually have a look at what are these, okay? So just in a nutshell, just for some theory behind what they are. Inside out perspective, we are looking at ourselves within the business and we are trying to find out what we can do that is good within the business. So our internal organization. So we look at ourselves, we look at the business's strengths, we look at our own resources, we look at the business's capabilities. We look at what are our goals and what are our values and what do we do well as a business, and how can we take what we do well as a business inside and how can we create a competitive advantage on the outside. So our starting point here is to look within the business. We are looking inside. You can see that word that I'm highlighting there. So we're starting within. So what are we good at? What are our capabilities? What are our dynamic distinctions that we have? How can we use these capabilities to create something that is competitive on the outside? So how can we gain competitive advantage by focusing on what we are doing within our organization? So we are focused first on the employees, we are focusing on our goals, on our culture, on our policies, on our resources within the organization, and we are pushing that, we are relating that then to the outside to try and find a strategy then for the outside. Okay, so that's the first half. Opposite to that, we have outside in. So you can see the starting point here would then obviously be outside. So we are focusing here on the outside. We are looking at the environment. We are looking at the macro, the external environment. We are looking at the industry in which we see ourselves. We are looking at competitive intelligence. So we're looking at what our competitors are doing. What should we be doing? So we are looking at the outside of the organization, and we are saying, how can we take what is happening on the outside and how can we translate that to strengths within the business? So how then can we take whatever we have analyzed and looked at and focusing on the external environment? So I'm looking outside, I'm looking for those opportunities, I'm looking for the threats that I want to avoid. So I can take those opportunities, I can take those strategies, those industries that I'm analyzing, and I can turn them into something that I can use within the organization. So type of questions that we would be focusing on outside in would be, what are our competitors doing? What is the industry that we see ourselves in? What is the macro environment? So what is the government's involvement in there? How can I improve my organization by taking all of this that is outside into consideration? So I want to create a strategy by basing on what is happening outside. So if we are focusing, let's say, on the competitive intelligence, I'm going to be seeing, what are my competitors doing? What can I do within me in order to be better than that, to overcome that. So that's just a little bit of theory behind what are these two perspectives. So your starting point would be obviously then to analyze. Start by defining, analyzing these two perspectives. So give a brief description of each one of them. Distinguish between them. Tell me what is the difference between them. So step one, definitions. Theory, theory, theory. So I always say step one is the theory. So definitions, differences. Remember, even if you have said here that you think they're using inside out, you've still got to define and give me an overview of both of the theories. So please don't just describe one. Please do describe both of them and look at the differences between them. So it's important for you to have a look at the differences between outside in and inside out. And then in the next step, here is where you are going to tell me which one do you think naked is using. So here you're going to say that naked is following an inside out perspective, or naked is pursuing an what did I say, outside in. I can't remember which one I said, but the other one. So you're either going naked is inside out or naked is outside in. So you're going to make a statement. I must be able to see from when I read the body of your answer what it is. So in the very opening line, tell me which strategy or which perspective do you think naked is pursuing. And after that, go and find the justifications. Provide the reasons why. So give us arguments. Give me the justifications. Give me the reasons why you say that, okay? And Rachel, you just literally took my next sentence out there. So there is definitely a more correct answer. So if we look at it as a general, there is an answer that is more correct in the case study. But we have had in the past where students haven't necessarily picked that correct answer, but their justification has been so good that they do still get good marks for this question as well. So there is an answer that is more correct, but a lot of the time students will pick maybe the incorrect answer, but their justification, their reasoning is so good that they then can get the marks as well. Okay, so I don't want you to stress about which one is right and which one is wrong. What I really want you to focus on, you will get all your marks for providing the examples. Okay, if you and I have got a different opinion, maybe I say inside out and the memo says inside out, let's say for example, and you have chosen outside in, but your justifications, your reasons are good, you've given a good argument, by all means you will get those marks. Okay, it's not like you're just going to say, okay, the answer is outside in, and that's that, because then you're not going to get any marks for that, even if it is correct. Okay, the marks will be awarded for justification, for your support, for where did you find this information, what made you come to that conclusion. Okay, so what made you decide on that? What was the evidence that you had that allowed you to say that it is either outside in or inside out? Okay, once you've spent a lot of time on the application, then you are going to conclude. And our conclusion is where we are making recommendations, where we are saying whether we think that this perspective that they are following is working, is it good, is it sufficient for them, or should they change something? Do you have any recommendations? Okay, so obviously for this question, ladies and gentlemen, we want you to find a recommendation. So if at all possible, avoid saying something like, naked insurance is absolutely wonderful. There are no recommendations that I would make for you. We want to encourage you to at least try and find some recommendations for improvement, okay? So even if you think that naked insurance is doing everything correct and you are really set on that, then again, show reasons why you say that. But I want to encourage you here to really try and find a recommendation or two. So how can they be better? How can they improve the strategic link. Here you might even say that they completely need to change their perspective. Maybe here you are going to say that they have been following the inside out perspective, but you recommend with your entire history of what you have researched and that they need to pursue an outside in perspective. Then you say that and you just give reasons once again, make the recommendations. What should they be doing? What should they be doing differently? What should they be doing better? Okay, so again, a lot of information that's coming in from question one. So you'll have to read the case study that they give you. Remember, they give you a very long case study, but go and read it, and then you will be able to have a better idea. Remember, question one, I didn't put it in here, but it counts 30 marks. So it's a 30-mark question that you would have for question one. Theory, application, and conclusion. Theory, application, and the conclusion at the end. Okay. So let's just quickly just check there. Are you for that are online? Just quickly a thumbs up if you're happy with question one. Are there any questions on question one? I know it seems like I'm giving you a lot of information. So please, at any point, you are most welcome to stop me and I can elaborate a little bit more as well. Okay, thank you so much, Rochelle, Sitandiwe, Steph, and Tash. Okay, so let's move on to question two. Question two, in all honesty, is one of my absolute favorite questions. I love looking at mission statements and analyzing them. It really is something that you can get quite creative with. And again, here it's your, like Rochelle said, it's almost impossible to get the answer wrong because it's your interpretation of whether it is a good mission statement or not, okay? So here we are focusing, like I said, on the mission statement. And there's a lot of information that we speak about. So the first page on page 82 here, we speak as why do we have these vision statements? Why do we have them as part of the business? So you can just read through that for a little bit of background as to what is a mission statement and why we expect it as business organizations to have this mission statement. And then when you look at the main content of where you're going to find your work, you'll see it on page 86 and 87, where they actually then speak about the questions that we're going to get to in our set work that we've got here. So first of all, again, remember we are always theory. So these bullet points here are going to be our theoretical points. We always start with the theory. What is our theory? First and foremost, what is a mission statement? What is it used for? What is the purpose of a mission statement? So you're going to provide the theoretical background as to what a mission statement is and what do we use a mission statement for. So just the theory around that, okay? And then we're going to look at the next points, which is all part of our application, okay? So the next points that we have there is application. So we've identified what a mission statement is and why a business will have a mission statement. Now we need to find the mission statement of NAKED and we are going to analyze that mission statement. So you're going to look at NAKED's mission statement and you're going to analyze it, okay? And there are 5 questions. So here when we're doing the analysis, there are 5 questions that we are going to look at unpack. And all you need to do for this question is literally take each one of the questions and say whether NAKED's mission statement is upholding that question, that statement, or not, okay? So these questions are in the textbook. They're on page 86 and 87. So they are here on page 86 and 87, the questions. Most of them are on page 86, and then there's one that moves on to 87, but yeah. And there are 5 questions that you are going to be looking at, okay? So you're going to take the first question and apply it. Take the second question and apply it. Take the third question and apply it. By question, I mean the mission statement question. Okay. So let's do one for an example. Okay. So the example then will tell us let's have a look at one of the questions that would say, or that says something along the lines of, let me just try and remember, what is our philosophy? So what is our operating philosophy? What is our organizational image? Question mark. So that's the question that you need to ask yourself. And then you need to say, is the mission statement answering that question? So the question is asking, am I able to see what the images of the company? Am I able to understand what is the operational philosophy? If your mission statement is good, it's going to give you that information. If your mission statement is lacking, you won't be able to find that information to answer the question sufficiently. So your job for the application is to, step 1, list and explain the questions. Step 2, say whether Naked's mission statement is able to answer those questions or not. So you're going to take 5 different statements, 5 questions, explain them, and then apply them to Naked. So ask yourself, does Naked's mission statement answer this question? If the answer is yes, you can conclude it's a good mission statement. If, however, the answer is no, then we can conclude that it needs some recommendations. And you'll see the final part here is asking ourselves, is this a good mission statement? Is it impactful? What do they need to change? So was there any areas or points where they were lacking? Did they not have enough information on certain areas? Did they not cover some of the factors that would be needed in order for this mission statement to be successful? Okay. Look at another mission statement if you need to. So if you've said that their mission statement is not sufficient, what would it be? What could their mission statement be for them as well? So the conclusion, what are the recommendations that we could make? How can we improve this mission statement? All right. And then obviously, again, this is for 30 marks. So step 1 here would be, like I said, to have a look for the mission statement, try and analyze the mission statement, then apply the mission statement, focusing in particular on those questions. So remember the questions that you would have, you can take them straight out of the textbook. So the answers in that, you might not find them, but you can really apply it from the textbook. So on page 86 and 87 in the textbook, you will find those questions and you can use them as they are because you're going to be applying them in different ways. Okay, so it's not like you're just writing the mission statement questions. You are actually answering them. You're actually analyzing the mission statement according to the criteria that the textbook is telling us to do. And then remember, go and make those recommendations. What would change? How would it change? And how could you go on to improve the actual mission statements of the business? Okay, so I think I've touched on everything there for question 2. Any questions on question 2? Are you understanding a little bit better? Are you happy with question 2? Quick little thumbs up. Good, thank you, Stephanie. If there's questions, please, guys, let me know. Like I said, I'm always willing to help. Perfect, thank you. And then the final question, again, also 30 marks. So it's also our 30-mark question. So we've got 30 marks for this question as well. Okay, that gives us a total of 90 marks and then 10 marks for the structure for the introduction. So this question that we look at speaks about shared value and inclusivity, or inclusive business. Okay, so very broad topics that you have here, and again, it is going to mean that you need to look at more resources, more research. So you can't just use the textbook for this question. You need to be going to look at further research for this as well. So find extra resources, find extra reading material that you can use to research for it. But the actual question is the same as the structure you would have done. So remember, first part, always our theory. So our theory concept always comes first. So let's unpack that in a little bit more detail. Very straightforward. Explain, define shared value. Explain, define inclusive business. So provide an explanation for them, provide a definition for them. Okay? So step one, what is shared value? What is inclusive business in your introduction? Once you've done that, you're going to have a look at the concepts in more detail. So explain why a business would want to pursue an approach of shared value and inclusivity. Okay? So what are they doing? Why should a business, why is it going to be beneficial for the business to follow this approach? Okay? So why would the business want to do it? So what are some of the benefits? What are some of the reasons why you would actually want to follow this approach? Okay, so the theory, straightforward theory. Google it if you need to, or Google Scholar, EBSCO it as you would need to, and write the theory according to the theory that you would need for that. So very straightforward introduction. We're focusing on the theory. And then the next part would obviously then be to apply that theory to naked. So then you would take it and you would say, to what extent is naked insurance applying this theory? Are they following an approach of shared business? Are they following an approach where they are trying to pursue inclusivity within the organization? So are they doing shared business and inclusive business? Okay. So again, you just need to provide the examples, the justifications. Remember, this is the application part. So here you would say perhaps that naked insurance is not, they're not doing so well when it comes to shared value. This is what is expected to be called an organization that is pursuing shared value, but naked insurance is falling short. They are not doing everything correct. So there's some sort of discord, disharmony between what they should be doing and what they are doing. Okay. Perhaps you find that naked insurance is a very inclusive business and they really are putting a lot of effort into pursuing a value of inclusivity. And then you say that in your application. Okay. From that, you then go and write your conclusion. And this is very, very important. Again, please don't just say that they are doing everything right, that they are doing everything perfectly. It is important for you to make recommendations. So how can naked insurance follow a more shared value approach? Okay. How can they see value in following an inclusive business approach? How can these two ways, shared value and inclusive business, how can they strengthen the approach and the business themselves? So what would you recommend? What are some of the practical recommendations, the theoretical recommendations that you could then give to naked insurance? So write the recommendations. You recommend that naked insurance should do X, Y, and Z in order to pursue a more inclusive business approach. Or if naked insurance wants to pursue an approach of shared value, they should implement X, Y, and Z. So we always start with the theory, explanation, application, and then the conclusion where we have the recommendations. Feels like I've been talking for a long time. Are you happy with that, guys? Are there any questions with it? Is there anything specific that you have that you want to ask? I hope I am making sense when I talk. Sometimes I think, I hope everything sinks in. I know you might need to come back and read it a few times, or re-listen to the recording, but you know that's why the recordings are there. So if at any stage you need to do that, please just let me know, and then I can I can assist you as far as possible. So it is important for you to try and keep up to date with what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I know sometimes it is a little bit confusing when we're speaking about big words and things like that as well. So I think when you are busy, definitely the questions that do come up will come up. But let me know. Let me know how it's going. Like I say, you can always email me, send me a message. We can meet up again for a Q&A session. So I don't have to go through all of this again, but I really don't mind. But, let me know. We can always meet up online if you've got some questions, that we can always do. I can always make extra recordings if there's something specific that the whole class is missing out on. So please in the loop. Remember, you've still got 3 weeks to do it. So I think as you start really buckling down and working on it, then it will be a different story. But that really is all from my side. I know that you guys will go and work hard on it. So I'll stay on the line for a bit if there are questions. If not, thank you guys so much for joining, and yeah, keep working hard. I hope it was helpful, and I will go and put those things up as well in the more resources folder as well. So just remind me to do that. The recording will be available. It's also on the YouTube channel. Well, it won't be on yet, but it will be uploaded onto the YouTube channel, and there's many other platforms to access it. So yeah, so good luck, guys. And I'm looking forward to getting those reports in a few weeks' time. Have a great evening. Stay warm, everybody, and stay healthy, and work hard. Take care. Bye.